Hello and welcome to That British Homestead. My name's Nick, and today, I thought I would go ahead and tell you and show you what I've been doing with my allotment in terms of no dig beds. So let's get started. So, first off, I thought that I would talk to you about some of the benefits of no dig beds. I really like them. It's been a little while that I've been producing no dig beds, and I have a few that are a year or so old. I've pretty much always done no dig since my entire gardening career, but I've been doing them in different ways. I do root stout beds, do back to Eden beds, and I do no dig beds like the traditional ones from Charles Downing. So they're basically just horse manure, and underneath is cardboard. I really like this. I found them really good. So these are the reasons why I would go ahead and do it. One, improves the quality of your soil. If you are like me, these allotments are awesome. They are a privilege to have and absolutely wonderful. However, my allotment personally is 75 years old, so you can imagine how much digging has been done there, how much has grown, how it basically over the years has been very well loved or very well abused. And I'm sure that other allotments are the same. I've spoken to people here on YouTube about their allotments, and some of them are over 100 years since they've been an allotment, which is just absolutely awesome. However, it does mean that we need to improve the soil. So it'd be great to improve the structure of the soil and incorporate more organic matter into the bed, so that you get a richer nutrients within the soil. Like I always say, you treat the soil well, the plants will grow. We don't grow plants, we grow soil. So it's all of these benefits will just help all the organisms that you need in the soil to grow, especially if you've had a allotment that has been very well tilled for a very long time. It also reduces effort. I mean, digging must be incredibly labour intensive, whereas most of the year no dig beds are not labour intensive. I'm not going to say that they are labour free, because you probably can see me like near on in tears during the winter barreling in this stuff. It's so much easier once you've done a few beds. You do build up the muscles, but it is much easier than continuously tilling the beds and having to pull weeds continuously. Now, weeds aren't so bad because you put down that layer of cardboard. Now, how I access my cardboard is whenever there's a box that comes into my house, the rule is that no one throws them away. They go to the allotment. So that really does help. And the reason why that is because I use a lot of cardboard down the allotment, as you can see, and basically I save up loads and then I could do a couple of beds. Now, it does take a lot of cardboard to start off a no dig bed, so it's best to store them up over Christmases and holidays. Really helps. Someone's birthday, you get very excited about the cardboard. You also get to the point where people drop rubbish off at your house, so I get lots of people dropping cardboard off at my house, which is very exciting for me. There's no need to till the soil now, so it is done. It is easy to have an instant garden that is low maintenance, so that's very exciting. Weeds are also a big issue. I pretty much have an issue with weed seeds within the soil, and I have issues with the perennials. So, for example, I have things like stinging nettles, docks, and bindweed. Now, they're not too bad because the soil is so light and fluffy. It also helps with water retention, which was a massive issue this year with all the hosepipe bans going out. Now, I'm hoping there aren't hosepipe bans this year, but like I always say, it's better to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So it's really good for water retention. It also increased the yield of crops. Now, Charles Downing has some awesome videos on this where he shows side by side comparison, where he has dig beds and no dig beds, and they literally always produce so much more. I personally love it because I feel like I have a really easy way of interplanting as well, which you just don't have when you put the black plastic down, and you can sow seeds directly, which you can't do in the back to Eden method, which I quite like. Like I said, I use a combination of these. It is more environmentally friendly because you acquiesce carbon. You don't actually emit carbon. When you till the ground, it releases carbon into the atmosphere, so it is actually better for the environment, so that it traps carbon into its structure as it breaks down, which is very exciting. It is cost effective, especially if you can actually get horse manure that is free. You get lots of it. You don't have to use pesticides and fertilizers as much, which I am uncomfortable using liquid fertilizer a lot of the time. I mean, there are like really great teas and stuff like that, but talk about the synthetic stuff. So this is a really good way of reducing that, mostly because I struggle with time as well, with all of this stuff I've got to do. That's why I get up so early. So that is one of the best ways to do it. Now, how do you go ahead and do a no dig bed? I've told you about all the benefits of it, but how do you actually go ahead and do it? Well, I'm going to tell you step by step, my friend. Now, the first step is basically creating your bed. You're picking a suitable location. What I'm looking for is it being in full sun. This is south facing, so it is epic, and I'm looking for plenty of sunshine and good drainage. Now, sunshine isn't an issue. Like I said, I'm south facing, but you want a good 6 to 8 hours depending on what you want to grow in there. If you don't have that option, then of course you can get shade loving plants. I've got a front garden that is a no dig bed, and it only gets a few hours of sun a day, and I grow tons of stuff in it. It's not an issue, but I wouldn't put my tomatoes and my peppers in there because they're not going to do as well. So you can always go ahead and find things that you do like the shade, like for example lettuces. Now, in terms of drainage will improve over time, because if you're like me, clay soil, it does kind of puddle up on the soil, and it's because the soil structure is not amazing, and over time it will improve. Now, you can use all sorts of materials for a no dig bed. Like I said, I've used mulch, I've used black plastic, you name it. There's tons of mulches that you can use. Now, on this particular bed, I'm using cardboard that I've kind of taken from loads of people in my neighbourhood, compost in form of horse manure, because we get that for free delivered to the allotment, and basically the cardboard smothers the weeds, so it stops them growing up, and you continuously put a very thin layer of horse manure over the top every year, and it basically breaks down and stops the weeds from being able to grow up through. Now, I have noticed that you do get stinging nettles growing from a patch into the horse manure, and you might get bindweed popping up through, which is not a massive issue. I find the bindweed pops up less when you put the cardboard down than if you were going ahead and just put it straight on the floor. So that is something to bear in mind. It's well worth having a look. You get some cardboard, like I think it's called gardening paper, that you can put down instead of cardboard. It works apparently quite well, and it breaks down completely. Now, what you should do before you lay down any of the cardboard, etc., best thing to do is remove any weeds. Now, you can mow them down or cover it in black plastic. That's great. But if there's no woody plants, there's nothing stopping you to put cardboard down on grass and then just layer it over the top. I did that in my front garden. I've not had an issue with weeds out there at all. The grass completely died down because I put a thick layer of mulch on top, and it was great. Now, layering is important. It's important that you kind of weigh down your paper whilst you're doing it as well, which is just annoying. So what I do is first is I go ahead and I put down a thickest layer, probably about maybe a foot to 6 inches of 6 inches of compost down the first time I do this. Now, that's because I want a nice thick layer before I actually have any plants growing onto the cardboard, because obviously we're trying to stop things growing up through it, and it means it's difficult for things to grow down through it as well. So make sure that you're watering it continuously. Now, you can go ahead and put straw on top, leaves, grass clippings. I've actually just dumped a load of grass clippings on my back garden because that's what I have. I'm very, very pro use what you have. In fact, I am going to be doing a bed with chicken manure because I've got tons of it. So I'm going to go ahead and spread some of that on some of my beds this year, because I think I have about 1 or 2 left that I can go ahead and make a little bit more of a garden bed instead of the orchard that is there. Now, maintenance, like I said, you do have to go ahead and put a thin layer of compost every year. If you're doing the Back to Eden method, you do have to put wood chips over it every year, but it is not very much compared to what I did this year. It's only going to be like a wheelbarrow for like a whole bed, so it's not going to be too bad, and it will thrive, which will get in all of that organic matter and all of that nutrients. Going to improve the quality of the soil, you're going to improve the structure of the soil, the microbes are going to love it, the worms are going to increase massively. One of the ways that you can tell that the soil is improving so much is that you see that the worms, there are a greater number of them, and you are seeing that in the allotment over time, which is very, very good. Now, any of these ways that you're adding organic matter to the soil, you're going to see a much greater biodiversity within your soil, which is going to be absolutely fundamental to having healthy plants and healthy soil. Now, no-give beds are super simple. They're easy way of incorporating minerals and vitamins and all of that sort of stuff into your soil to make healthier plants. Now, I've been doing this for years and I really do like this way. The benefits are, like I said, interplanting and being able to sow directly, which you don't have in all of the planting methods that I've personally found, but I do really benefit this. Now, like I said, it is difficult when you do have those persistent weeds, and it is important that you go ahead and when you see them, pull them out. Now, this whole entire area, this is an orchard, so I'm going to be obviously mindful of the trees, but I am, in theory, going to move the black plastic back and march my little march across this area to eventually cover the whole area in horse manure and plastic. I might even grow strawberries and all of that sort of jazz, so which is very, very exciting. There's a lot of potential here. Now, I'm hoping that every single year I'll have a marked drop in my weed and my weed pressure. I have seen a marked drop this year from last year. You do have to remember that this was a very, very, very neglected allotment before I got it. Nobody wanted it. Why? Because there was so many weeds. So, I mean, the weeds have a good foothold, and I will continue to try to remove them as much as possible. It is only the beginning. And a bit like asparagus, I was thinking this the other day, actually this morning when I was there picking asparagus, and I was thinking to myself, well, you can pick asparagus right the way up until June 1st, okay? So think about it. If I keep pulling this bindweed out past June, past July, into August, and then into October, it's going to be so weak next year. If I continue picking it every day next year as well, it's going to be even weaker. And then maybe in a year or 2 more, I'm going to have no bindweed, which is going to be very exciting. The same as singing nettles. I keep picking them, I keep picking them, I keep picking them. Do I hate them? I hate them with a passion. Like the sort of passion that poets write home in like love ballads, that sort of passion, how much I hate them. And people keep saying to them, but they are edible. And I'm like, yeah, I hate them. So I don't see myself eating them anytime soon, but I do see myself clearing this patch. And I'm going to be very passionate about it. And I'm going to try my hardest not to let any weed get a foothold. You shall not pass. So we'll see how it goes, because probably in a month's time I'll be like, dude, the weeds have absolutely killed me and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't keep up. Oh, only time will see what happens in the next few years. So we will see about that. As you can see, I'm just watering it through. This is to dampen up the newspaper and the cardboard so that the beans that I'm planting now will be able to grow all the way down. Now, these beans are pretty cool. They are yellow ones, green ones, and they are purple ones, all bush types. The purple do go green once you've cooked them, but they are easier to find on the plant. I'm planting them a few inches apart, and this whole entire area will be bush beans, which will be exciting. I might have to net this area on the basis that we have lots of rabbits, and the rabbits absolutely adore beans. At this moment in time, I'm pretty much netting everything down the allotment because we have such a significant issue when it comes to rabbits. Rabbits are literally eating everything down the allotment. That or the slugs. I'm having an issue with slugs as well. So as this breaks down, it's going to produce really lovely soil. Next year is going to be an amazing bed. I'm going to go ahead and spread probably about an inch of manure over the top of this bed and it'll be done. So that's the sort of plan. Now, legumes are really good for growing first off because you can actually see if there's any weed killer in the soil. If they don't grow properly, it means that there is an issue with the soil. So if you are using horse manure, make sure that you are taking a sample of it, growing a bean in it, and if it grows really well, you know that it is soil that you want to spread all over your allotment. We see horror stories like every day of people slapping horse manure or whatever fertilizer all over their gardens and then realizing it is contaminated with pesticides, which is awful. So it is bearing in mind that it's becoming more and more common, especially if you have something like hay, because the hay has herbicides in it that allow grass to grow and nothing else, which is not good if you're looking at a garden. So thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't done already, please consider subscribing because we need you to help us grow and hopefully we can help you grow. So until next time, I'll see you. Bye bye.